Who am I? Now, this had been the question which had been asked for many generations of people in the past. To begin with, let's look at us inwardly. During every single moment of our lives, we construct an identifiable person called myself or I. Now, this construction of a I is quite familiar with us. Every moment of our lives, we live with that I within us. You can't deny that. That's our feeling. We feel, we assume, and we strongly believe that there is a person within us. That person is called I. Now, when you believe in an I within us, we always tend to get attached to that I. Now, this I is the self. When that person is dominating the picture within us, we get attached to that I. Even though it's an illusional thought according to Buddha, in our conventional lives, we feel genuinely that there is somebody within us. We are Putujanas or ordinary worldlings who live a conventional life. In our conventional life, we carry on our work with this I putting forward. So when we believe in an I within us, when we strongly accept that concept of I within us, we build a world of our own around this I. Now that building of that world is our own, and we separate all others from that world, saying, this is my world. In that, we call ourselves different individuals. Each and every one of us has that I within. Now, this individual next builds a world of possession. He claims ownership to many things around him. That is his world. He identifies with those things around him. He will claim ownership.
Can you mute your mic, please?
He will call ownership to animate and inanimate things. He will say, or you will say, I will say, this is my car. This is my house. She is my wife. They are my children. This kind of possession, this kind of claiming ownership is always there with us. That's our world. Now, this ownership separates us again with the idea of mind from the things belong to the others. Now, the next one is not only that we have a notion that there is an I within us, but also we feel that it is the same lasting I who is there within me. Now let us take an example from my life. When I was a child, I had a world of my own. I was physically very different from what I am today. I was having a different attitude towards the world. My thinking process was very different from today. My physical appearance was entirely different from today's appearance. But when I came to this age, I am now of this physical appearance, which is entirely different from what I was. And also my thinking process, my world that I have created around me, my attitudes towards world, attitudes, all are very different from my childhood attitudes. Now, the important thing is this. The important thing is this. If I say that it was my childhood, this is my adulthood, the senior gentleman, the I who was there when I was a child is the same. Though I have physically changed, my belief of the I who is within me is the same. I will say when I was a child, so that I has not changed within my mental framework. I am Kosala now. I say I was Kosala then. That Kosala has not changed. Though I am physically changed, though I have changed in my attitudes and behavior, the idea, the strong idea that I have, that I am Kosala, is the same today as it was that day. So this I within me has not changed. So what I say is, when I was a child, I was like that. So this I is like a fixed, permanent person within me. I grew up with my parents. So now I'm saying that continuously this I was coming up with me. Though I know that there is a anicca, when I look at myself from those days to today, that belief of the same person I within me has not changed, which is like a mini microcosm. Now the belief now is, what I feel now is, I am a unchanging, persisting I within me. That persisting I gives me a notion that I am the same person. So this is a kind of a soul, even if you don't say that, it's a kind of soul that we feel within us. Not that we say that we have a microcosm which is this much of a size and all that, but we still believe that I is the same from childhood to today. And also my belief is I will live another few years and die off. So that I is a persistent, constant thing in my mind. True enough, we hear Dhamma, we know that it's an illusory thought, but you just can't get over that. That is still there with you. So we are attached to that I quite strongly. And my attachment to that I and my things around gives me the idea that this I is myself. Now here, what is the problem? of having this concept of I, this conceptualization. What is the problem? According to Samma Sambuddha, the moment you construct a separate I within you, the moment you construct the I within you and behave that you are a person, that personality development or construction of person gives you suffering. What made me to have this illusory thought of a I? The factor mainly which contributed to that is my avijja. My ignorance is the one that made me think of a person within me. But still I don't know that it is a ignorance or whether it's a wrong thing, I do not know. Because I have not seen the reality. So now according to what we just discussed now, this attachment to a I, this clinging on to a I causes the whole problem in our lives. Now, when we are attached to this person called myself, I, we tend to protect ourselves. We tend to provide security to us. We tend to entertain us. We tend to enhance the image of ours. We live in fear whether something adverse will happen to us. All that is because I believe in a person called I. Since I have not tasted the freedom of not feeling myself I don't understand that I am bound here. So now, because of all this, I suffer. I suffer because I have a lot to do with this I and my belongings, all that I have identified with. Now, dear friends, having said that, we will have to see what ignorance that we have about this concept of I. The ignorance is avijja that we know, which had come with us as a fetter all along in samsara. Now, if you get rid of this strong belief or assumption of the I, that means you have got rid of your ignorance. I will come to that later. The moment you get rid of your ignorance, your delusion and illusionary thinking, in the way the Buddha asks you to do that, you will completely get rid of your suffering. In the sense, not that you will not fall ill, you may fall ill, but you won't take it personally. You won't suffer because you are ill, because you don't consider a personality, because you have seen that there is no personality. So now we will see how we are going to get rid of all this according to Buddha's version. Now, what is the Buddha's stand? What is the Buddha's stand, or what is Buddha's take on this issue, this situation, this person who is within called I or self? Now, Buddha was very careful in his preaching and Dhamma. He was very careful. Now, the important thing is whether there is a self within us called I. Is there no self called I? Now, that's our problem here. Why do you call it an illusion? Let us see whether this I is going to be of use. Now, when we spend our everyday life, day to day, moment to moment, we call ourselves I. That's a conventional thinking. That I is the person who is walking, who is doing things, who is marketing, who is going for the job. So, what is wrong in it? There is nothing wrong in it. So, that I is the person who is experiencing, perceiving all that. That I is the person who is getting all things that is organized around him. Only thing is, without unknowingly, because of this I, we are suffering. The suffering comes because of that attachment to I. But even to work conventionally, Buddha didn't kind of object to a person who is living a life having a conventional thought of I. Even Samma Sambuddha called people by name. So this conventional life, in this worldly life of a Putujjana, there has to be a person, imaginary person, who is working for him. Where he doesn't see the reality. Without seeing the reality, if he just drop his version of I, he will just be without anything done by his. So this, for conventional living, this construction of I by a Putujjana was not directly looked down upon by the Buddha, because that is his life. So existence is there. For the existence, that concept of I within him is not denied by Buddha. Buddha never gave a blanket statement that there is no person or no self. He didn't make a blanket statement. He didn't get caught to these speculative discussions. Now, one day, Vachagotta came to Buddha. Vachagotta is a wandering ascetic. Now, Vachagotta came to Buddha and had asked us direct question. What is the direct question? Venerable Sir, is there a self? Buddha didn't answer. Buddha was silent. It was a profound silence, but that was a very valuable silence. Then he asked whether there is no self. Is there no self? Buddha didn't answer. Then he stood up from his seat and left the place. Vachagotta was a very philosophical, wandering ascetic. He had been asking very philosophical questions. Now, when this was seen by Venerable Ananda, he came and asked Buddha, Blessed One didn't answer the question that wandering ascetic asked. What is the reason for not answering? Then Buddha's reply was, if I said there is a self, he would have got engrossed in the self view that he believes in. And it would have been in conformity with the other Brahmins who said that there is a self. So he would have gone into the eternalism. The eternalism or eternal view is a strong deterrent to his escape or liberation. He'll get further engrossed. It would have strengthened his view of self. If I said, if I had answered in the negative that there is no self, then he would have been very sad that he had ended his self and he will go into a nihilism theory where he feels that there is nobody who is responsible for anything. There won't be any karma production. There were some Brahmins at Buddha's time, contemporaries, who were preaching that there will be no one to go through the vipaka of the karma. So nothing would have been substantial. If Buddha said no to that, all the people would have get bewildered, confused, and gone into Uchedavada, nihilism theory. So Buddha was very careful. That is why I said it was a profound silence. Not that he wanted to evade, not that he wanted to avoid. He wanted to show that he does not get engaged in speculative and metaphysical discussions. Now, about these metaphysical discussions, self or not, infinite or not, finite or infinite, all these metaphysical. Now, even Aggivaccagotha Sutta, there are 10 questions. Buddha avoided all that, saying no to everything. So this shows that Buddha doesn't get involved, not get engaged in unnecessary, speculative, metaphysical thoughts that waste time of a person. Of course, Buddha has given those up because that is a thickest of thicket of views. All these questions are thickets of views. So that Buddha kept silent without answering such questions because he wanted to transcend those two ends. Now, Buddha had never said that there is no self as a blanket self statement. No. He had said that there is no permanent, persistent, unchanging self. That is what he had said. This conventional self, which is also a misunderstanding and an illusion, Buddha had allowed because the people get on as Putujjanas. They are not people who are getting into enlightenment next day. So that for them to go on with the work and to have their ethical behavior, to avoid akusala and produce kusala, all that is with the self. Because people who are having the idea and the notion of a self only who do punya and akusala. But that also will lead to samsaric journey, fuel the samsaric journey. So what is Buddha's stand then? Buddha very clearly told his bhikkhus and disciples not to get involved in all that unnecessary arguments and speculative discussions. Because it is an utter waste of time. Say you give an answer that something is infinite. Buddha asked the monks, will it give you a chance to get rid of liberation by knowing that? Then the monks said, no, one thing. Just by knowing something like finito, infinite, we are not going to liberate ourselves. That will not add to our liberation knowledge. Then Buddha says, don't do it. So then Buddha's stand we have to understand here. If he is not answering those questions, what is Buddha asking us to do? There must be something that we should do. Now I am innocently having an illusory thought saying that I am a person. And Samma Sambuddha says it is the illusory thought. Let him get on with his conventional life, but he is in an illusory thought. Why does he say that? Because he is not going to liberate. If he is of that view, that's a view. If he is of that view, he is not going to liberate. That is Buddha's problem. Buddha's problem is not our living with a self, conventional self. It's not Buddha's problem. What Buddha's problem is that the individual will not get cleared off. He will not end suffering. He will not see the liberated individual's happiness. Buddha, with his compassion, wants us to achieve that, obtain that, come to that. So what does Buddha say? Now we are waiting to know what Buddha stand regarding this. Now what Buddha says is to get the answers to those two questions. Now this is transcending the ends. He's not going to say yes or not to the two ends. Rather than you are looking for answers by having your intellectual knowledge, which you have gathered from books and listening, Shrutame Jnana, and reflecting your Chintame Jnana, only you have. We Putujjanas have only that. That is not enough to fathom the wave. That's the important thing. That is what Buddha says. With your small knowledge, this intellectual knowledge, you are going to see the end of everything. That you can't do. So don't argue on those things and get into heated arguments and discussions. You are not going to go anywhere in liberation. So you make use of the time, bhikkhus, disciples, to see to yourself what you are. That's what Buddha said. When you see what you are, you will naturally get the solution to those questions. So to get the solution to your questions, get the solution to your burning questions, whether there is a I or not, you will have to follow the instruction the Buddha has given to see with your insight knowledge, your deep meditative knowledge, to understand what you are. To start with, Buddha has given some instructions to the monks and the disciples. This is the way you should think. Now he's not talking about a different self for others. Though Buddha says this is an illusory thought. I will give you some guidelines and the way you are going to do it. Now Buddha says the I or you or this composite person is made up of 5 things. Those are the Panchaskandha. So Buddha gives some guidelines. Even those Panchaskandha, though he gives the guidelines, he will not see. He will not see with insight meditation. Now I know that, but I don't see it properly. The true insight is you are going through, piercing through the self by the guidelines and the meditation. So until you really see, even though we learn this, don't get the misunderstanding that these are only guidelines. So Buddha says, this individual or the person whom you see as I and myself is made out of five things, five skandhas. Now they together, interdependently and supporting each other, construct a person whom you call I. So it's a construction, it's a composite I of these five skandhas. As we all know, Rupa or the form, Vedana or the feelings, Sanya or the perceptions or identifications, Sankhara means the constructed thoughts, volitions, and the stuff, and the consciousness. So, Buddha says, this is how you are constructed. Now, that constructed composite person you see as a permanent, persistent I within you. So then, if the skandhas are unchanging and persisting, so then there is something, some essence there. Now, Buddha says, none of these skandhas will remain static. Every moment, all these five khandhas are subject to change. Why are they subject to change? Because they are also constructed. The five khandhas are constructed separately by other factors. So what is Buddha trying to tell us? Buddha is trying to show us the structure and the paticca samuppada. So since all the factors that contribute to the construction of a self or a I are ever changing continually, there can't be those factors which are permanent, everlasting, constant, static. They are also changing. Those factors are also dependently originated. So when the factors change and fall, the constructed myself is also subject to fall. So this kind of continuous flow, there is a momentary, we can't think of the time. There is a momentary person constructed. The moment you look the other side, the person is gone. But conventionally, we see a person. Because our camera is not enough to catch the speed of change. So that conventionally, we see still the same person statically discussing in front of me. Even though we see such a person, that person is made out of five skandhas, which are eternally changing. So there is nothing, that is why Buddha says, nothing that I see permanent, everlasting, unchanging within you. So if I don't see it like that, can you call anything yourself as a permanent thing? No. So to see this, Buddha says, you have to now be guided with the paticca samuppada, dependent origination, and that you are made out of five skandhas. Five skandhas are called sometimes nama rupa. Also, same thing. So now what are we to do? Now, Buddha gave us the lesson of Satipatthana to see from A to Z what these five skandhas are. Now, you start as the normal self who is believing a self within me. Ultimately, as you go on, as you keep on looking with mindfulness, when you meditate in Satipatthana, when you develop your knowledge, insight, knowledge to Satipatthana, one day you will definitely see this momentary changing skandhas of yours. You will vividly see, you will vividly understand that so-called self of mine, so-called person within me is not even lasting for a moment. So this person, constructed person who is not lasting even for a moment, is ever changing like a stream of water. But there is always a connection. One moment the person is constructed, the second moment again the person is constructed. So everything has a continuity, connection. That is how when you do a karma at a point, that karma is, until the karma is done and over, there is an immense change of that person throughout. During that, there is a stream of yours, like in the film role of a cinema. There is a stream of your persons who is doing that karma. So that karma is, you are responsible for that karma. Because of that, that stream's continuity will be lasting, going on as a changing continuation. So Buddha didn't deny the self in convention, the momentarily changing construction and decay, rise and fall is his theme of teaching, anicca. So this anicca person, this changing, the person who is changing at every moment, if you go and get attached, what will be the gift you are getting? Suffering. Because you are hanging on to something which is not lasting. So whenever you hang on to a thing that is not lasting, changing all the time like a stream of water, you will suffer. You will be displeased when it changes. So that is why Buddha says, don't hang on, don't cling on to something which is changing all the time. So when the Arahants see this, they will definitely not get attached to the day-to-day living person. They know very well, they have seen, truly they have seen that it is not a person, but it's a changing process. So, Dhamma friends, as we have seen now, Buddha has instructed us to see this person truly to yourself. Only when you see who you are through vidarshana and insight meditation only, that you will understand you were not what you were calling you. It's a different picture altogether. Once you get enlightened through that knowledge, that idea will never change within you. Nothing can mislead you. The Arahant cannot be misled by anyone. They are firmly enlightened and they don't shake from their stance. So whatever dance before them, whatever appear before them, they are not changing a bit from their stance. So, Dhamma friends, I think I have said what I had to say. In the discussion, sometimes we may have to talk about other things, the questions we can answer, and we may enhance our knowledge. And I look forward to learn from you also. May all beings be well and happy.
Thank you, Dr. Kosala de Silva, for that very enlightening talk. So, end of the day, what you said, if I understood you right, is that there is an I. This is the conventional I. We can't deny it. We got to live with it. But what is important to transcend that and try to see the deep truth behind this so-called I as a mere aggregate of five panchaskandha, which itself is changing all the time. And then you realize, in reality, there's no real I. It's only a changing events taking place due to one thing leading to another. Paticca samuppada, as you called it. So that is achieved by good, deep insight meditation. That's what we had to do. So this forum is now open for discussion. You could raise your hand, unmute yourself, and present your question or any comments to the forum, please. It's open for discussion now. Thank you.
Dr. Kosala, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead,
Please
please.
do so.
Lakshman.
Please do so.
Dr. Kosala, how does now you were talking about I? How does the ego? What is there any sort of difference, or how does it maybe relate to what you were talking of?
Yeah, that's a very good question and a very puzzling kind of question that you asked, because this had been with the bhikkhu came here. Now, bhikkhu came here was seen to or thought to be liberated by attaining sohanhood. And some other bhikkhus came and asked, bhikkhu came here who is enlightened at the stream entrance level. They asked whether you call your body yours. Then he said, no. Do you call? Because now they want to examine and see, because he is at the point of death. Bhikkhu came here. So the other bhikkhus were interested in knowing whether he has attained enlightenment in whichever the way. Then bhikkhu came here said, no, I will not call my body mine. Then they asked perception, feelings, all panchaskandha. He said no to all. But then he said, but I have some feeling of myself. Some feeling of myself. Now that is the conceit. It's very difficult for one to separate the conceit from self. Now the self notion goes off at so on, but the conceit doesn't. Conceit will remain until he becomes an arahant. So only in similes that this was described. Now, if there is a cloth which is smelly, that is the simile which was taken there. That cloth which is dirty, which is full of dirt, and it is smelly. Now, after even washing the thing, all dirt has gone and it's a clean cloth, but it still smells. Now, that is the simile he had taken. So, conceit is, from that it shows that conceit is a little bit different from what we said, I and myself here. Conceit is something, staying with you as myself, a feeling of myself, not the complete one. Some remnants of the self he had, some remnants is there because he poses himself as a person in the sense to the world, this I am. So that self notion which creeps until the arahanthood is supposed to be the conceit. I'm sorry, I don't know to describe it more than that. From that simile and the cameo monk, only that I can say what it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.